8. And joining us now to dig through the issues of the day, it is T Radar with us. Good morning, T Radar.
Well, good morning. So many issues, so many days, all of them filled with issues.
Indeed, and a return of something that we talked about a lot around, of course, the election time, this whole teapot thing, finally a conclusion where there is really no conclusion as such.
That's right. I guess a conclusion of sorts, I suppose, would be the best way to describe it. They've come out and they've said, no charges are going to be pressed, and there's been John Key as oddly as it happens at this particular time, away in South Korea discussing issues of nuclear importance, and I suspect will prevaricate and say that he doesn't really have the time to talk about this because there's other more pressing issues on the go. Apparently a deal was sorted out between the lawyers, a bit of a slap on the wrist. Bradley Ambrose, who filmed it, sent a letter saying, he didn't really mean to do it, and they've graciously accepted that and said, well, but next time. So it's the whole thing's a bit of a sorry saga. They've said don't publish it, but for anyone who does want to listen to it, it is out there on the interwebs, and people can tune into it and make up your own mind whether I guess there was anything worth sort of keeping secret, whether people felt there was a bit of sort of dealing going on. I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. Anyway, this charade of the public meeting, the cup of tea to support the ACT candidate, but not endorse him.
Yeah, obviously all that was pretty odd. But what I found odd yesterday was the police coming out and saying that they're going to warn Ambrose because they reckon it was unlawful. However, they're not going to press charges, but where do the police decide that it's unlawful? Wouldn't it be up to courts to decide if something was unlawful?
Well, I would have thought that would have been the case in the role of the courts, and if something, was a sort of a line call like that, I would have thought that maybe that would go through to the courts to allow them to decide under the full sort of weight of the law. So whether there was a decision that they thought, well, maybe we might not win this, and so there's no point clogging up the court system with it, and maybe who knows? Maybe they thought, look, this is not really worth it. There's burglars and, fiddlers. There's fiddlers out there that need to be dealt with.
Yeah, indeed.
Not of the string variety. Maybe that's a better use of our resources.
Maybe there's shoulder charges and throat grabbers out there we need to deal with.
Look, I tell you what, people are having some issues today. I watched this unfold yesterday over the interweb, and it's nice to be able to sit there and watch social media take up a cause over the course of a few hours. And a video was posted yesterday morning. Some people may have seen it of some altercations that occurred at a skate competition in Victoria Park in Auckland. Some people, Serenity Trust, which is a rather odd and very expensive group that gets people off, cures their addiction or claims to cure their addiction, was running a competition in association with Skinny, which is the hip, young, new youth mobile phone outfit. And it all went somewhat pear-shaped, and there was a scuffle, and a rather large chap was filmed knocking a young kid off a skateboard and then grabbing the throat of a let's say a not as well built man who stepped in to mediate and call the whole thing off. Unseemly, unsightly, the entire thing. You didn't really get to see what sort of caused it, but you suspect that whatever had caused it didn't really cause for that kind of altercation to ensue. Pretty soon the names of the people were bandied about. Social media had discovered them. Steve Gray, who people may remember from Good Morning, runs his website, Real Stephen Gray. He was one of the first to publish the name of the chap who did the sort of most of the violence, and from then on a lynch mob was formed. It was we must find the guy, we must destroy him with the wrath and the power of our social media.
Do we not let the shoulder barger off because he can draw birds really, really, really well?
Wow, isn't it interesting that someone who brings about such beauty and such life and draws birds for various things can be so sort of aggressive. He had all the sort of quite a well-bought guy who clearly can throw his weight around. And as he did an interview on 3 News last night, and in the Herald, said, it doesn't look good. And no, mate, it doesn't look good. So it's an odd dichotomy, isn't it? You know, delicate bird pictures, physical violence.
I don't know. I just feel like giving him a free pass for those birds. I think I'm alone in that. Yeah, I think I'm totally alone in that.
You're a charitable guy. You're a bird artist loving guy. You can see the beauty of nature.
If he could just go paint a bird for whoever he felt that he had offended, then that might do it.
Maybe all would be right with the wood. And the other thing that happened was, you know, a guy, you wouldn't want to have been a sponsor of this event, or even indeed someone who wasn't aware that they were involved with the sponsorship of it, because someone gave all the kids these spray cans, and they went and tagged the whole area with the sponsors' names and logos. I mean, anyone with half a brain cell has got to think, yeah, this isn't a very good idea. And if anything, it's a really great example of why you shouldn't take drugs, because even though this guy who runs the Serenity Clinic is his name is Murdoch, even though he's now off the drugs, you can have a look at him and go, yeah, I'm not sure that you escaped unscathed from that lifestyle.
Obviously not. I wouldn't want to encounter any of these people, though, however, on the road, as it is at the moment with the confusion around the changes. Have you been out there yet?
Oh, I've been out a couple of times. What I've done is I've got a little sticky note, and I've put it right in this, not right in the centre of my windscreen. That would be unsafe, but just below my field of vision that says "Road Rules!" ! To remind myself every time I get in the car that, oh yeah, things have changed, because it's such a matter of instinct driving after a while. Have you had any altercations, any run-ins, seen an increase in courtesy?
No, no altercation. I've only really encountered the scenario twice, I think, since 5 a.m. Sunday morning, and but there was this manual kind of thinking about it, because it is automatic, isn't it? It is so automatic that you really have to manually go, oh no, hang on, this is how it is now.
Yeah, and come to think of it, I don't think I've actually encountered it. I haven't had to deal with actually any new movement of the rules. I've always been governed by no traffic or a traffic light. So maybe today will be the day I can get out there and experience it. But I see that the insurance companies and the tow truck people, the crash people, will probably be rubbing their hands with glee. Well, not the insurance companies. Obviously, they'll have to fight it, but they've said no leniency. If you make a mistake, that's your fault.
Right, fair enough. And this interesting news about prisoners are being banned from drinking water, or too much of it.
Well, banned from drinking too much water, it seems. They have to have drug tests every so often in prison. It's part of their sort of incarceration regime, and apparently some of them have been drinking a bit too much water. Been watering everything down, so to speak, and so now there's a ban. They're going to pass a law that says you can't drink too much water. So I'm not sure, how much water is too much water. If you've got to stand there and you've got to pass some water, and you can't do it through nervousness or lack of water, who's to judge how much water you're allowed to drink, before you've diluted your sample down?
True. Any more than the 8 glasses a day, which apparently is a fallacy. The whole way, 8.
It is a fallacy.
Yeah.
Yes, so they say. And as I say, you get water from a lot of sources, from vegetables, from cups of tea, from coffee, and even though coffee and tea are diuretic and you lose water through them, certainly it's not as much as you gain from drinking them. So, and the other thing they say is if you drink a lot of water, you essentially flush everything through, and if you drink too much water without passing any, then your brain explodes.
A suggestion this morning that. Jerry Brownlee, minister in this New Zealand government, has been drinking too much beer by the Finnish. A talk show host has suggested that perhaps too many pies, too much beer, and too much sitting in a car.
Absolutely. Jerry Brownlee, he stunned the Finns and the rest of us, I think, with his comments on the Finns the other day as being uneducated, unemployed murderers who don't respect women. I would have thought we had quite a lot of them here in New Zealand, actually, if you only got to look at the front page, or indeed, given the rate of those crimes, any of the pages in the newspapers these days. But he was criticising the Finns, of course, because David Shearer had held the Finns up, put them up on a pedestal, and look, see the mighty Finns, we should be more like them. And we're not talking about the Finn brothers. Initially, I thought it was the Finn brothers he was talking about as being uneducated, unemployed murderers who don't respect women. I went, wow, what have they done in the last few hours that I haven't seen in the media? But no, it's the Finns from Finland. So they're not at all happy, and I'm concerned. I don't even know what relationship we have with Finns. All I know is that the country is oddly beautiful, and they make mobile phones.
We use their mobile phones. Apparently, they invented the SMS message.
Did they? Well, imagine what life would be like without that.
Exactly.
With less thumb RSI, I suppose. Maybe he should have condemned them for that. The ACC, the health bill has been ruined by the Finns' innovation.
Yeah. Take that, Finns.
If only the actual Finns themselves had kept their songs to 140 characters or less, the world would perhaps be a better place musically. I'm being facetious. They have written some wonderful, wonderful tunes.
On that note, T-Radar,
We'll speak again next week in full vocal format.
It's 24 minutes past 8. Here is King Cannons, their new tune. This is called Stand Right Up. It's Kiwi, good morning.